This is the Georgia Farm Monitor. Since 1966, your source for state and national agribusiness news, and features for farmers and consumers about Georgia's #1 industry, agriculture. The Georgia Farm Monitor is produced by the state's largest general farm organization, the Georgia Farm Bureau. Now, here are your hosts, Ray DeLisio and Kenny Bergamy.
Alrighty then, as always, our home is your home. Thanks so much for tuning in to another edition of the Farm Monitor. As mentioned, he is Kenny. I am Ray, and this is what we call the show's lineup. Mr. B.
Yeah, coming up, shut down in 2012 for major repairs. A popular fishing destination in Bleckley County is up and running again. Damon Jones on what led to its closing and why it may now be better than before. Also on the show, John Holcomb on how the GFB's Ag in the Classroom changed the scope of the Hall County school system, including some national recognition.
Plus, they're one of the most successful equestrian programs in the country. Join us for an up-close personal look at the Georgia Bulldogs and while they're on the brink of a possible 7th national title. These stories and so much more are starting right now on the Georgia Farm Monitor. Well, anglers around the state are now welcome to cast their lines at the Ocmulgee Public Fishing Area as it has officially opened their gates back up to the public after a 6-year restoration. Damon Jones tells you what went into that repair and what kind of fish you can expect to find.
After nearly 6 years of waiting, anglers can now officially cast their lines back into the waters of the Ocmulgee Public Fishing Area. This 106-acre lake, which was best known for its trophy largemouth bass, was shut down back in 2012 after major problems with the lake bed were discovered.
The lake developed a sinkhole and compromised the lake bottom, so the lake started to leak. Which, it wasn't sustainable for the fish population out here.
And that began the lengthy process of applying for government funding, draining the lake, and then fixing the problem. And with such a large area to cover, the repair was long and complicated.
Essentially, they just dug out a 24-acre footprint from this 106-acre lake where the engineers identified where the leaks were and borrowed the clay off of our site here and put back 2 foot of clay back on top. So basically about a 24-acre footprint across the whole lake bottom in the middle there where they found the compromised areas.
And so far, so good, as there have been no problems spotted since the lake began refilling back in January of 2017.
And right now we're only 10 inches from full pool, so it's really pretty neat to look out here right now and see that we're just about almost to where we need to be for the water levels.
While having proper water levels was the first step, it wouldn't be a fishing area without the fish. Back in the spring of last year, that problem was solved as more than 500 bass were stocked, along with a number of other species.
We really are excited to be out here and have the lake open to the public again. We're not holding back any recipes here. This is a trophy largemouth bass fishery as well as productive crappie and brim, bluegill and red ear. So we're really excited to have the lake open again for the public to enjoy. Got a couple year classes of bass now in the lake and several crappie and bluegill and red ear sunfish. So and lots of forage we stocked in here. So the lake's getting up and going.
Each of the bass stocked has a chip implanted, which allows DNR professionals to track just how the individual fish are growing. And while the trophy-level bass anglers were catching at this pond's peak is still a few years away, there is still plenty of good fishing to be had right now.
A lot of our fish are grown on our warm water hatcheries across the state. We have several of those. So not just one hatchery, but several hatcheries have grown out the fish. And we're stocking advanced catchable bass. Georgia's pioneered that. 11-month-old bass we're stocking. So we're really excited about getting the lake going. And there's some fish, an angler caught a 5-pound bass the other day, so we're getting some decent sized fish in the lake already.
Reporting from Bleckley County, I'm Damon Jones for the Farm Monitor.
Thank you, Damon. Ag in the Classroom is nothing new, but in Hall County, the County Farm Bureau has developed a new Ag in the Classroom initiative that's been so great, it earned them national recognition at the American Farm Bureau Convention in Nashville recently. The Monitor's John Holcomb reports.
Part of Georgia Farm Bureau's mission is to educate people about agriculture and how agriculture produces the food and fiber of our lives. The way Georgia Farm Bureau does that is through the GFB Foundation for Agriculture, which was started back in 2014.
The Georgia Farm Bureau Foundation is an avenue for Farm Bureau members and agricultural enthusiasts across the state to spread the message of ag in the classroom, scholarships, leadership development, consumer education, really just in an effort to increase agricultural literacy across the state.
One of the biggest parts of the foundation is Ag in the Classroom, which is a program that takes volunteers into local schools in the community and teaches lessons to kids about ag. Hall County, which didn't have an Ag in the Classroom program yet, took the Ag in the Classroom initiative and modified it to get more people involved.
We saw the need of bringing agricultural-based lessons and education to the elementary students in Hall County. And so we got together and we decided to create a new name brand that would possibly tie in our community in helping us reach all 26 to 27 elementary schools, because we knew it was going to be quite a task to be able to do all that on our own. So we came up with the name Hall Grows, which is Hall for Hall County, Georgia, and Grows stands for Growing Real Opportunities with Students.
Just like other Ag in the Classrooms, they would take a volunteer and would go into schools in the county and teach different ag lessons to kids. They didn't just stop there, though. With their new initiative, they would make it to where they could reach as many classrooms as possible with things like workshops.
We started deciding, well, we really need to touch more people. So that's when we decided to have an educator workshop. At that educator workshop, we were able to bring teachers to us to give them the tools to be able to send them back to their classrooms and spread it out that way.
The initiative also focuses on communication with the schools, like sending them teaching materials and emails each month.
After we have an educator workshop, they sign up for our monthly e-blast, and that is an email link that goes to them that we designed that focuses on one commodity every month.
The program has been working so well, the Hall County team got the chance to go to Nashville and showcase their new initiative and share the idea with others at the trade show.
If it's a brainstorming idea for someone, it helps them jumpstart or start from scratch like we did at Ag in the Classroom program in their community, then we want to be able to give that idea and share that idea with others.
Hall County Farm Bureau is very excited about this new initiative that has been working so well. However, there are some challenges to making this work efficiently, the main one being manpower.
We have over 17,000 elementary students just in our county. So in order to reach all of those and to go get them the education of where their food and fiber comes from, it's going to take some manpower, and it's going to take people to pull together in our community.
Reporting in Gainesville for the Farm Monitor, I'm John Holcomb.
All right, John, great job. Now, when we come back,
we have the most unpredictable sport that there is. There is no predictability where this ball is flying.
maybe not, but some are predicting a possible 7th national title for the UGA Equestrian team. The secrets behind their success when the Farm Monitor continues.
Decades ago at this USDA Agricultural Research Service lab, scientists made an important discovery, a starch-based polymer that could absorb large amounts of moisture. Co-inventor George Fanta relives that moment.
The thin layer of polymer began to swell as a continuous entity and literally crawled out of the beaker.
They named their invention Super Slurper and figured it would work well in diapers, bandages, and other applications. They figured correctly.
We knew we had something different. Some of the films took up between 500 and 1,000 times their weight in water. We were deluged with interest from the private sector. Our material was what kicked off the whole industry.
Super Slurper led to the development of other absorbents and a multi-million-dollar industry while creating markets for cornstarch and other crops. That's a hallmark of the USDA's Agricultural Research Service.
We're expected to come up with new ideas, new concepts, and new value-added products from crops.
In Peoria, Illinois, for the U.S. Department of Agriculture, I'm Pat O'Leary.
If you haven't noticed, UGA athletics as a whole is thriving right now. Of course, the football team reached the national championship game, Men's and women's track have consistently ranked in the top 3, and then there is the equestrian team, who at the time of this taping ranks #1 in the National Collegiate Equestrian Association poll. A familiar spot for the Bulldogs, considering they have won 6 national titles since 2003 and appear headed for their 7th.
I really think Georgia's just a powerhouse. We have so much drive and determination, so much focus. So we always have a goal in mind, and we're always reaching it, surpassing it, setting a new one. So our feet never quit moving. So we're always hitting the ground running, and really going after it.
The University of Georgia just really helps us with that academic portion, because you got to be serious about doing well at school and a serious student, and I think that mirrors so well with our sport and how much of it is really about thought and strategy, much more than in physicality or talent in some ways. And so that part, the commitment to school, certainly you've got to be a tremendous athlete, but then you've got to have the right athlete. These guys have come from a background in which they were riding entirely as individuals with their own horse, their own circumstance, and now they've got to switch to riding on a team, riding on something unfamiliar, and have to be willing to push and try new things. And so we really look for that attitude portion as well.
Riding is really big in the Northeast. It's just super competitive up there, but then with the college dynamic it flips a little bit, and in the SEC particularly it just becomes super prestigious and competitive. So that's how I decided that I wanted to come down here. And Georgia was the choice for me academically. With the team, it was just superior, and I loved it, and I chose it.
You know, the last 4 years have been great, getting to ride horses and getting to do what I love every day, but the best part about this team is just all the friends, and you know, they're going to be lifelong friends for forever. They've really impacted my life, and hopefully I've left an impact on them as I leave, you know, here in the next few months. But that's pretty much it, just you know, the family and the friendships that you've gained throughout the 4 years.
I think that's an expectation when you come here, for sure. I enjoy so much being around all of our coaches, because it is contagious and there's just a drive. And I think it's one of those groups that it's the 10,000 hours. You know, you just work, and you work hard, and you are passionate about something. And that's that people orientation I was talking about earlier. When that becomes contagious, that is a buy-in for all of your athletes in a culture, and then you become unstoppable.
I think what really unites this team is just the passion that we all have. There's so many girls, and so sometimes on a team that big, you can lose like the unity, but we all have that one force of just like loving the horse and loving the sport, that on the toughest days, like we all go back to that and we all remember that, and I think it really drives our success.
I think the secret to this sport is thinking quickly on your feet. So a big aspect of our sport is not knowing the animal that you're going to be riding that day. You have 4 minutes to warm up and figure them out, and horses are just like humans. They have mood swings, they have all different types of personalities, so you really have to, you know, what we call go into their box and transform into what they need. So just being able to think quickly and figure them out and adjust to what they need so that you can pull out with a win that day.
We have the most unpredictable sport that there is. There is no predictability where this ball is flying. So what it has to be is about your reactions that happen in the moment. And so we do a lot of prep work to be very much a rider in the moment, whether that means that you're doing a warm-up with 0 time, you have to go straight into the ring, whether that be you haven't done a lead change yet, now we ask you to do one. We really get them to rely on their muscle memory and the brain memory for what feels like underneath them.
I was thinking about it when I put my ring on this morning. I was like, wow, like I get to go and I get to ride for a point today for Georgia. Do you know how many people would wish they could say that? Like, I'm just lucky.
Don't forget, if you missed any part of the story or others on today's program, you can still see them in their entirety at our YouTube channel, the Georgia Farm Monitor. Plenty of stuff to choose from. In fact, the archive goes all the way back to 2009.
And while you're there, keep clicking and like the Georgia Farm Monitor Facebook page. Send us some feedback as well. If you have a story idea or if you just want to leave us a comment or suggestion, send us a message either on Facebook or at the address on the screen. That is news@farm-monitor.com. As farmers are preparing to plant an increased amount of cotton this spring, they'll go into fields knowing a major threat is no longer there, but they're still facing plenty of other challenges. That story when the Farm Monitor continues.
Folks who know cotton say Tennessee's production has momentum. Commodity prices are projected to be good for farmers, and the ag economy seems to point to a nice uptick in acreage this year.
2017, we were about 340,000 acres. I fully expect to break 380, maybe get up into the low 400 range.
Dr. Tyson Raper with UT Extension was one of the organizers of Cotton Focus in Jackson, where farmers heard about trends in production and prices. Attending that conference, Lake County's John Lindemood, who last year grew more than 1% of Tennessee's cotton by himself. What's helped tremendously in recent times, getting rid of a harmful pest.
It's hard now to look back and attribute increases in yields to one thing or another, but there's no doubt that eradicating the boll weevil played a significant role in our increased yields.
Boll weevils were the bane of southern cotton for decades. Weevils lay eggs in cotton and eat their way through the plant. But no more. Eradication programs in the early 2000s all but wiped out boll weevils.
Tennessee now has been boll weevil free for over a decade. Long and short of it is that was our #1 pest and it's gone, and it's saved us a lot of yield over the years.
While the boll weevils have been banished from these fields, cotton farmers face other issues. Producers have to play a money game, as cotton typically is an expensive business venture. For instance, the machinery needed for cotton. These pickers are a few years old, but new ones cost close to $1 million. Ag economists with UT Extension say despite this daunting expense, commodity prices are leading to renewed interest among producers to consider cotton.
Due to some of the machinery costs, it's going to be a long-term capital investment for people. So you have to be reasonably certain that you're going to be able to secure those prices, not just for one growing season, but for multiple growing seasons.
For now, this growing season starts soon. And what should help make it a success? A critter that's notably missing from these fields. This is Charles Denny reporting.
Finally this week, as always, the Monitor is scanning America's heartlands, looking for destinations that you, our faithful viewers, may find interesting, and we found one.
Yeah, just outside of Winston-Salem, North Carolina, sits Ragapple Lassie Vineyard, a one-time tobacco farm that's become a popular agritourism spot. From our friends at North Carolina Farm Bureau comes the story of the vineyard's owners who said no to big city developers and yes to the preservation of farm life.
That's our #1 question of everybody coming in the doors of the winery. You know, it's like, what made you do this? And no, we didn't wake up one morning and say, wouldn't it be great fun to own a winery? This was our plan B, Frank's plan B, to prevent this farm from becoming a housing development. It's been in the Hobson family for 112 years. We were primarily tobacco farmers, grow soybeans, of course, and wheat and corn and all the typical farm things. Nothing that you have to feed.
Milk,
yeah, there was a dairy here when Frank was growing up. So our name is from Ragapple Lassie, which was his 4-H show calf, who ended up becoming the grand champion in North Carolina in 1957 when Frank was 12 years old. I mean, we've been very blessed with some nice publicity because at this point in time, there are only 2 wineries in all of North Carolina. We were the only one for the first 10 years that were actual farmers themselves, made their living farming, you know, and switched to this. There are lots of wineries, as you know, in North Carolina now, and it's wonderful. It's putting us on the map. But they're largely owned by people, captains of industry, people coming from other businesses, hiring all the people they need, you know, hiring a marketing director, hiring a winemaker, doing all those things. And so it's been really nice from that aspect. You know, and that's another question I tell people. We have 6 wines that you really cannot turn your hand over for the difference year in and year out. You really can't, and it's the dry whites, our Chardonnay. We're known for our Chardonnay, particularly because it's barrel fermented and it's surly aged. And barrel fermenting we were talking about, that's the singing of the barrels, you know, moving, because most of the Chardonnays made are steel tank fermented, so they have a sharper, crisper taste. Our Chardonnay is creamy and buttery because it's barrel fermented. And in surly aging, it's the same thing as, think pulp in orange juice. If you leave all the pulp in place until time to drink it, then it's added just another quality to it that you don't get. But our dry reds are all nice, and then we have a reserve, Hobson's Choice. Our name is Hobson, as you know, and Hobson's Choice is a phrase from Victorian England that literally translated, what you see is what you get.
It's agriculture, it's look after and
Frank's grapes do well because he sings to them every morning.
Yeah, we like to sing to
He
them.
has a little truck that fits just between the rows, and he goes and rides down the rows once they're in leaf, and he can check from both sides of the car, you know, what's going on in the plants, and then he whistles to them. And he told somebody one time, he says, my grapes are happy because I whistle to them every morning.
It's just, when you grow grapes and you watch them very closely, you live and learn with them, and it's they're fascinating to grow. I love growing. They pollinate themselves. When they bloom, they got a little hat they set up, and that's where your piston and stamen is, right underneath there. And so as they grow, that little cap comes up a little bit, and they look funny, so they throw the hats off at you.
And this gives energy, it doesn't take energy. You know, when you're really tired or you have a corporate job that we've all been through, you know, they just suck the very energy out of your bones sometimes with demands or whatever. Well, people that are here because they want to be here. They like the fact that we were a farm and this really had a mission to keep the farm agricultural. They like our wines, they like who they're with. It's a fun thing for them. And so we're here 7 days a week, but it gives energy. You never wake up and go, oh no, I have to go to work today. The Wall Street Journal was here interviewing us shortly after because they were looking for one of these farms that had always grown tobacco, and what on earth were they going to do? And when she finished, the reporter looked at Frank and said, would you do this all over again? And he didn't hesitate a second. This is his direct quote. He said, it's been a hell of a ride, but I'm sure glad I didn't miss it. It is fun. It is. Like I said, everybody that comes here is here because they want to be here, and they bring you energy. And to watch people like your wines or be able to introduce your wines to people that are not necessarily seasoned wine drinkers, and to watch the expressions on their face. So yes, we've just had great fun doing this. We really have.
Very nice. About a half-day's drive from Atlanta. Looks like a lot of fun, too. That's going to do it for this week's edition of the Farm Monitor.
And always a reminder, for the latest ag info regarding food, great recipes, and what's happening down on the farm, be sure you check out our Twitter, Facebook, and Pinterest pages. You'll stay informed and see what's up in the world of farming, plus with us on the show.
Take care, everybody. We will see you next week right here on the Farm Monitor.
Have a great week.